joining us to try to help work through all of this. Joining us in Portland, Oregon, psychotherapist, author of The Minds of Mass Killers, Understanding and Interrupting the Pathway to Violence. Shavaun Scott is with us. Shavaun, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Is that ever an easy question to answer, why a mass murderer like this does what they do?
Yeah, it's not easy for normal people to understand it, you know, and that's one of the reasons I wrote the book, because if you work with folks like this, if you work with murderers, you see patterns. And these guys that do the mass killings in public, they're remarkably consistent in their patterns. It's always a mix of several factors. It's sort of a perfect storm that includes the personality traits of the killer and or mental health conditions the killer may have, although many do not. And it includes social factors now, which is primarily the internet, which is fueling a lot of this behavior. Cultural factors include the veneration of warriors. And this particular killer was very into posing with military gear, and his videos on social media and photos on social media, he looks like he's in an action movie poster. So this culture has an influence on certain vulnerable individuals. And then, of course, the easy access to weapons of war. So when you put all those things together, you know, it starts to make sense. And these are factors that you see in all of the killers, in addition to the personality characteristics, which I can speak more about, and the mental health problems.
Well, let's talk about his personality traits. And is it something that should be noticed? Is it something that someone could say, hey, something's going on here, and there could be intervention and interruption, and you could actually stop it?
Yes, definitely. And that's the point. Usually these folks have been telegraphing that they're on a pathway to violence for weeks, months, even years, sometimes up to 10 years. You know, we've seen that. So it is best interrupted long before a person ever gets to the point of making a hit list and picking up a weapon. But unfortunately, as we're seeing all over the country, that's not happening. We're not intervening soon enough, or we're not intervening effectively. And the personality characteristics are three things that are, of course, different, may manifest somewhat differently in each person. But the first one is paranoia. And this is a person that tends to project out their anger at the world, and they blame other people or other groups of people for their unhappiness. And so the projection is a very dangerous thing, because sometimes the grudges that they hold turn into hit lists. The second personality factor is narcissism, and that is the urge to be famous. And it doesn't matter if they're going to be famous all over the news for killing a bunch of people. It's really the fame that drives them, and any attention is better than being ignored, basically. And then the third factor is psychopathy, what we often call a psychopath. And even though these guys may not meet full criteria to be a psychopath, although sometimes they do, the qualities of a psychopath are a very low empathy for other people. They also have low empathy for animals, often, as this killer did. They have a history of torturing or killing animals. And they have a capacity for cruelty and are often sadistic. And when you look at these events, which are very hard for all of us to watch, you can definitely see these factors at play. And then there are other things in addition. So it does get complicated, but those are the basic kind of general things that we see over and over.
And Shavaun, while I have you here, I want to play one short piece of his reaction when there was a video playing in the courtroom of the shooting itself. I've got to warn everyone, you won't see it, but you will hear it. It is tough to listen to. But I want you to just take a look at his reaction. Just tell me any thoughts you have about what we saw today in the courtroom. Let's watch.
Holy sh**. Oh my God!
Any thoughts?
Yeah, not knowing him, it's hard to say with any specificity, but he clearly is covering his eyes. He doesn't want to face this. Is it manipulative? People who are psychopathic are very often masters of impression management, and he really doesn't have too much of a defense here, which I think is why he pled guilty. And it could also be immaturity, that in a way, as little kids will try to cover their eyes when they don't want to see something. It could be something that kind of shows his neurodevelopmental problems, which have also been alluded to over and over in the media from people who knew him. He was identified as autistic from a very young age. And even though the vast majority of autistic people never commit violence, you can find autistic people who have personality characteristics like the ones I mentioned. So it is possible to be psychopathic and autistic, which is something that's not often understood.
Well, Shavaun Scott, this has been incredibly insightful. I hope you'll come back and join us throughout the course of our coverage of this. We really do appreciate your time tonight.
Yeah, it's very sad, but I'm happy to come back. Thank you.
Thank you so much.